We are very proud to present you our project. We have chosen a different direction and wanted to emphasize the greenness that is often missing in big cities. We also wanted to show the issue of sustainability and be nature as near as possible. Therefore, our motto, the human spirit needs places where nature has not been rearranged by the hand of man. Before we explain the process of our project, we want you to think of how a city or even a world without any greenness would look like. What if all the trees or modules would simply disappear? Is this what we want? Just some questions you may keep in mind. But for now, let's begin with our project.
This is where we got inspired by nature. For a reference, we took a tree, as you can see. We thought that the moss could somehow represent the ground of a forest. The yellow texture could be the blossom, and of course the orange material stands for the leaves. Another aspect we thought of were the seasons. The leaf represents fall, the yellow texture spring and summer, and the moss the winter, because, as you might know, the moss stays green during the winter.
It was particularly important for us to address the issue of sustainable architecture for our concept. We came across this picture and took it as a reference for our project, because it does not only reflect the colors but also the materials. However, this part was very challenging because we could not decide if our modules would look too artificial without textures or not. Our ideas drifted from famous graffiti from Henrik's to Mario Kart routes, especially the Yoshi world, and far more. Nevertheless, we had to choose this picture because no other could resemble our work just as this one.
Our voxels. As we began our project, we decided to have a layout that combines wavy lines as well as circles. To get some fascinating parts on it, we added some thorns and holes to the outside snake lines. For our catalog, we experimented a little with the connecting voxels. This is the reason we have a large variety on how they look. The way our modules are built should represent the unpredictability of Mother Nature. For example, how roots grow on the ground, how the leaves may have holes inside, or how small branches stick out of bigger branches. However, the materials are always combined through the modules. The leaves are never apart from the stick.
I have chosen a very tall module. Referring to our tree, I would say it therefore represents the trunk. It is very green on the outside because the bark is covered with moss. In addition, the bark is very detailed. That should represent reality as much as possible. A characteristic of my module is that it's not only just straight as a trunk you might think of. This is why it not only has some snaky and zigzag turns, but also some spaces that were left out to create imperfection. In addition, I wanted to show that not each side of the trunk looks the same.
Inspired by the branches of trees, we decided to have both fragile and solid structures in this module. To show off the lightness of the branches, we tried to create a lot of movement. At the same time, we wanted to mimic the feeling of freedom that the branches growing into the sky convey, and created more open spaces and flowering elements.
In general, my module shows a cube that represents the center of a tree. It is the basis for all further courses of a tree and can be used everywhere. The voxels of my module consists of round and angular elements to display the numerous facets of nature.
Module D is mostly inspired by winding plants like ivy or grapevine. The elegant curves on both sides point out the delicate details of the construct. The module is symmetrical because I wanted to integrate the symmetrical aspects of nature into my construct. The sharp edges should represent the man-made part of the object.
The module E pictures more of the outside layers on a tree. Placed along both sides are round shapes that can be seen as the leaves. In the middle part of the module, the structures are more angular. These structures are the ends of the branches where the leaves sprout in both directions.
Our idea was a new interpretation of a tree. We are very happy that through the different animations, our diverse layers and various materials can be seen.
As we started our game, we decided to refer to the imperfections of nature, like roots which grow naturally in different directions. Another example for our aggregation is ivy, which climbs up on everything and grows on every surface. It should represent the strength of nature which stands up against the man-made buildings. It should not be a park for the people who lives in a city. It rather more should bring a part of nature, forest, woods, leaves into the city. Now here's a question. What do you think? Would you rather look at a big grey massive bunker or at our elegant construct which reminds you of beautiful nature?